Hello everyone, how are you all doing today? My name is Varanus, and welcome to Subliminal. This is the demo for the game. The actual official release is sometime in 2026. You'll definitely see that as a full playthrough on my channel. And what I'm going to do, I will do this probably for when I do the full playthrough. I'm probably going to do this with Outlast Trials even. I'm going to start uploading two versions of the video. One version is going to have my commentary like this, and the other version is going to be unlisted, but there'll be a link in the description so that you can go to just my raw gameplay footage, and you could just be able to see it there. I'm not too worried in regards to the gameplay footage. It's just, it's edited, and it's edited in my style. So if somebody really wants to steal it, I don't care. I really don't. I do this as a hobby, not because I'm gonna be making millions of dollars off of making YouTube videos. I have a good life. This is just fun. But let's move past that. Let's talk about this game. Now, liminal horror is something that a lot of people are no longer really scared of. People are starting to kind of move past the idea of, you know, oh my god, the liminal spaces are scary. They're moving on, and that's fine. It's an old fad horror wise. It's the quote unquote latest creepypasta. You know, the millennial generation had the way that I see it in a weird way is that the millennial generation had Slenderman and then had SCPs, and then, or I think it's the other way around technically, but either way, whichever way, those are the two that were like the main ones for the millennials. And then Backrooms was Gen Z. I don't know what Gen Alphas is going to be. We'll see when, as they get older, when they really kind of start to hone in on their own horror, and it'll be great to see. But you know that we will see eventually horror movies and more horror games come out in the liminal space genre, and that's fine. It is something that's going to happen. One of my favorite video games that I have right now is Pools. I should probably do a playthrough of that. It's kind of a post-commentary playthrough since I've played through the whole thing anyway, but I digress. And it's literally a walking simulator in a liminal space that is a bunch of pools. It's great, and I love it, and I think everybody should experience it, whether through a YouTube video or by playing it themselves. Now, to talk about the horror of liminal space is what makes it work. What makes a liminal space very terrifying? There's a beautiful video that I remember watching a while back. You could probably, if you do a quick search, you could probably find it. Doing a full in-depth analysis of it about the uncanny feeling of the abandoned space. You know, you see like a shopping mall that everything is just preserved in time, and it's slowly decaying, but it's preserved from that time frame, and you can go there and you can experience it without anyone there. He also talked about the idea of, you know, when you would leave your classroom to go to the bathroom when you were in elementary and middle school, and you would go walking around and you would see the open, empty hallways. And that's part of the liminal horror, that kind of emptiness, that void of anything, just stagnant life, so to speak. And it is definitely a very unique style of horror, but it's one that affects everyone differently. You know, some people love the idea of being truly alone. They love the idea of being in a space where they get to just be by themselves. It's personally, for me, it's one of my favorite things, is being alone. And it's great. And I don't mean alone as in just, you know, oh, I'm a hermit, put me in a house out in the middle of nowhere and I'm okay. No, what I mean by alone is being able to be in the main world, but being in a space with no sound, with nothing, because there's just nobody there right now. You know, I remember I used to work at a clothing store, and during the time when I'd be closing, you know, the lights would still be on. You'd have all the, there was this curtain that you could close in the front so nobody could get in. It wasn't in a mall, but it was just, you know, like in a little strip mall, but they had this curtain, and then you could be able to close and lock the door. And normally people would just leave the music playing. What would I do? I would turn the music off and just sit in the silence and just see this kind of frozen moment in the store. And it was really cool, and I loved it. And it's kind of the same concept. Now, liminal horror that exists like this, where you are showcasing a piece from the past, is something that is unique because it has another type of effect, and that is for Gen Z and Gen Alpha. It is this idea of seeing the 90s and that experience of, is that really how peaceful it was? Is that really how awesome it was back then? Was it really that cool compared to the way the world is now? And for those of us from the millennial generation, many of us look at it and say, yeah, it was the best time of my life. And some of us say, no, that was a really dark time, depending upon what was going on in our lives. But it was a time that, for the millennials, there's a lot of very powerful and strong memories. Think the environment that you're seeing on the screen, the kind of basement of someone's house. That table you're seeing there, that frame that's for that picture, the chairs that were in that room, the fridge, all of that was something that I can tell you I have memories of items like those in my life. And what it does for millennials is super unique. When they see these items that were from their memory, their brain fills in the rest of the details. You see this swimming pool area, this water park, I should say, indoor water park. And the instant that millennials see those sprayers, their memories fill of when they were a child and they were at these water parks and they got to experience those sprayers. They experience their time climbing the stairs to go up to the tops of the water slides, their experience with everything, the lazy river. Their minds fill in the details. Earlier in the little house scene, there's the little device that looks like a Game Boy Color. You look it up, and if you don't know what a Game Boy Color is, I can tell you right now, the instant that I picked that up in the game, the first thing that happened was my brain started playing the sounds from the game Legend of Zelda: Oracle of Seasons, which was one of the last Zelda games on the Game Boy Color.
Like you've left something on the floor.
And I remember hearing those sounds and while I was holding it in the game, and I'm just like, oh my god, I remember this. And so now the brain is processing that, and my memories are being inserted into the game. That's what makes it terrifying for my generation, the millennial generation. For Gen Z and Gen Alpha, you guys are going to experience it differently. For you, it's that experience of, so this is what the 90s kids are always talking about. This is what those millennials are always saying. This was the more peaceful time. This is the better time in life. And maybe for you, you see it and you are like, I want to experience that. Maybe you see it and you say, this looks like shit. But for you, you experience it differently. Maybe it's not as scary for you because of the fact that that's not what you want. You still get the liminal horror, the horror that is the space devoid of life, frozen in time. You just don't get that nostalgic horror. And that's okay. It's a different experience. One of my favorite TTRPGs is a liminal horror TTRPG that's built around the concept of just building these liminal spaces. And one of the bundles that you can get with it is one that builds 90s style office buildings, which focuses more towards boomers and Gen X in regards to how they felt about the workplace back then. But even for the millennials, there's plenty of movies from back in our childhood that showed off these 90s office spaces. the most iconic thing from the 90s is the red stapler. Why? I don't know. I don't really fully understand it. But that is something so iconic from the millennial generation within the 90s, that dumb stapler. And that's in this TTRPG. And it's so bizarre that that's like such a key element. But there's other elements too, the cubicles, the sounds that it describes when it describes certain items that make noise. You know, one of the things that you don't hear it much nowadays. I don't think people nowadays hear it as badly as it used to in the 90s, but fluorescent lights used to have a very, very consistent hum. And you don't hear that hum anymore. They've gotten better, the technology's gotten a lot more advanced, but that was something that when you describe the buzzing of fluorescent lights, every millennial can hear it in the back of their head. Every boomer, every Gen X can hear it, and very, very few, but a very small subset of Gen Z can be able to hear that sound. And it's kind of terrifying. But I digress. This game does a really good job of capturing both liminal horror while also capturing nostalgic horror. I think it focuses more on the nostalgic horror than the liminal horror. Because one of the things about liminal horror when it comes to pools or anything is that generally there's not tons of active running water. It's usually more gentle. The sounds are more muted. It's calmer. That's not to say that it's bad, but you don't have, the waterfall trees. Again, a big aspect of my memory, those trees. But you don't have that in true liminal space style horror. So this is more in the nostalgic liminal space, which is fine. Again, it works and I feel it. And I highly suggest that anybody play this game when it comes out and experience the whole thing. Or you can watch me play it when the game comes out. I will do a full playthrough. Do not worry. It will be on my channel. So just I definitely suggest experiencing it. Sorry, just taking I'm taking a moment here while recording this audio and just replaying the game in my head. And you're only seeing the first half right now. There's two halves to it. There's the story of following the happy memories, and then there's the story of following the darker memories, which leads to a completely different environment. And it's very terrifying going down the other pathway. Instead of going towards the pools, you go to kind of the jungle gym from the 90s. If you've ever played any other liminal horror games, you've probably seen the 90s style jungle gyms that every single millennial can tell you about climbing through. Very reminiscent that of what McDonald's and Burger Kings and all the fast food places used to have for the kids to be able to go play around in. Back when McDonald's and Burger King and other fast food joints were trying to be a third place for kids and families alike. Thinking about that actually it's a very strange feeling thinking about it, because I remember around the time when the Nintendo GameCube came out. Yeah, back then. McDonald's had sent a few GameCubes to a couple of their locations, and you could be able to go there, you could play around on the slides, and there was a GameCube there, and you could be able to grab onto the controllers that were attached with that really awful rubbery plastic casing around it. And you could be able to play whatever game they had loaded up. Usually it was like Mario Kart or something. And it was definitely an experience having that. And a lot of people talk about those. And although those are good memories, the better memories for me was just climbing around in those tubes and then going down the slides. and hearing the other kids screaming and yelling. Don't get me wrong, there's plenty of problems with those that they had, and it's half the reason why they don't build them anymore. If you don't believe me in that there were problems, trust me, there were plenty of problems. You get a kid who gets sick up in one of those, and an employee has to figure out how to climb and crawl around in there to be able to clean it up. There's so many different little things like that that just, again, problems. um, so I understand why they're gone. And kind of another nostalgic thing, and this is something that I think a lot of Gen Z and Gen Alpha talk about when it comes to this kind of nostalgic horror, or just nostalgia in general that the millennials have. They always ask about, like, were there really no rules back then? Were there really, you could run around, do whatever you want? And yeah, the answer was yes. This is my, like, minor political rant in the middle of this. One of the problems that I have seen throughout society since watching and feeling nostalgic horror is that parents have been getting more and more distant from teaching kids. And I don't mean all parents, but a majority of parents have gotten more distant, and it's become the responsibility of the schools, the extracurricular activities, the government and companies and everyone else to parent the children. And this has led to situations where companies have to start implementing rules that kind of force these lessons on kids and teach them. If you're at a pool and you run around, you now get banned from the pool. They remove you from the pool. And then your parent finds out, well, they were running around, and then the parent can do whatever they're going to do later. But that's like, yeah, they were running. How did it work back when I was a kid? If you were running around in the pool, they would tell you, there's a plain rule, it says no running. But if you slipped and fell and you chipped a tooth or you broke your jaw or whatever, guess who would be responsible? Your parent and you. And your parent would look at you and say, what were you doing? I was running. There's a sign that says no running. So you weren't following the rules. Yeah, then that's your own damn fault. So back then, you could do what you wanted, but when you got hurt, when anything happened, the consequences fell upon you. Nowadays, the consequences fall upon the company. The consequences fall upon anyone else because the parents don't want to hold that responsibility with themselves or with the kid. And everything changed. And then along with that, companies started to want more and more money. It's one of the many reasons why if you ever ask me about playing some of the big popular titles that everyone's playing, I'm probably not going to play it. If you were like, hey, you should play Call of Duty. No, I'm not going to play Call of Duty. I basically refuse to play any games by Activision, EA, Ubisoft, any of the big companies, you name it, I won't play it. Because most of these companies have done the same thing. They've gone away from making a game because they like making games to they make games because you can charge $200, $300 for all of the content and then still charge an additional $2,000 for all of the cosmetics on top of it. It's why one of my favorite games, Outlast Trials, they have an in-game cosmetic store. Do you know why they opened that in-game cosmetic store? If you haven't been around long enough in Outlast Trials, they opened that up because people were complaining that they could not give them more money. I wish I was joking when I say that. When they released the game into early access, there was no way to give them money at all. And then they opened up from early access and they released the reagent starter pack. And it was $20 for 4 skins and a couple of other things. I was like, great, totally fine. Gladly will pay that. And then a couple months later, they do the next major update for the game. And they released another one. And they released effectively grand total of 4 of them. The 4th one they split up into like smaller packages, so instead of it being one giant package at $20, it was 4 packages at $5, which, oh well, I don't really care. But they did not give you a way to spend money on them. and people were begging them, please give us premium cosmetics so that then we can like spend money and pay you guys, because you guys have made such a good game. And that's the way I felt the entire time, and I will gladly give the developers of Red Barrels money, because the game is truly 100% free after you buy the game. You spend the initial, what is it, like 20-30 bucks? You spend that money, you play the game, you never have to spend another dime. You just play the game. You get to enjoy it. And that's something that I miss from that time frame. Something that I miss from my childhood. When you would buy a game, you'd put it in, and you would just play. So, that is my nostalgia rant. That is my minor political rant, even though it's not really a political rant. It's just I wish parents nowadays would hold more responsibility than they do. But I digress. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, if you don't want to hear my commentary and you just want to experience the playthrough that I did, link is down below. I do plan on playing the full game when it releases. I do plan on doing other games along with Outlast Trials. Like I said, I'm just waiting for some other bigger updates or changes. We're coming up soon to the end of Winter Kills, so when we get the next major event, you'll see a video showcasing the event. I know it's the nostalgia event where we're going to go through like some of the previous major like variator combos, and that's fine. It'll be something to do, and it'll be something to talk to you guys and show off, and I'm okay with that. In the meantime, have yourselves a wonderful beginning of the new year of 2026, and I hope to see you guys in another video. Have yourselves a wonderful day.